I'm so glad to talk to an almost entire women audience. And actually, I'm very proud to tell you I'm leading a team made up of female experts by 85%. That means women in tech and gender gap subjects is far from being an issue, at least in Kaspersky. In this webinar, I will go through few topics about tech-related abuse against women, with main focus on trending phenomenon, doxing. Then I will give you some hints about domestic abuse, and especially focusing on stalkerware and risk related to the IoT devices. I'm very practical in my job, and I don't like to make things more complicated than they are. So I will try to avoid any technical terminology in order to make my speech as much clear as possible and as much practical as possible. And I will try to give you some concrete suggestions. In the next few minutes, I will answer a few hot questions about doxing. What is doxing? Who can dox and who is the target of doxing? Why doxers act and what's the purpose? And last but not least, how to prevent and how to respond in case of doxing incidents. Let's get straight to the point. Doxing is the act of collecting personal information about someone, usually to expose them online. It seems very simple to say, but there are many things to discuss about. The first step is focusing for a short while on the definition of personal information. And to be more precise, I will define what are personal data and sensitive personal data. The personal data is any information that may identify you as a subject in a direct way. So, for example, your name, your surname, your photo, or identify you in an indirect way. For example, your location, your home address, your email address, your phone number, your taxpayer info, car number plates, and so on and so forth. On the other side, the sensitive personal data is something that is more sensitive in nature compared to the personal data. In this category, they fall information about your ethnic origin, your political opinions, your religious beliefs, your health information, and so on. The GDPR law in the European Union, you may have heard about, but actually similar laws in many regions in the world, differentiates between personal data and sensitive personal data. And the latter, so sensitive personal data, must be treated with extra security. Anyway, what matters is that both personal and sensitive personal data must be protected against any security threats and breaches. You know, GDPR and similar laws, applies to companies and professionals. And fortunately, the global trend is that companies are more and more compliant with privacy regulation compared to, say, just 10 years ago. So on one side, companies and professionals are taking care more and more of our data. But the question is, how do we take care of our data? That sounds simple so far. We all take off our data and sensitive personal data. We don't spread them to the first unknown person we meet in the street or on some social media. Yep. Do you agree? Actually, I'm not sure about that. Look at these pictures. How many information we may actually spread in both offline and online life. And look, at first glance, you may think that the questionable thing here in these photos is to expose the name of your family members on your car. I don't know if it's common in Singapore, but in European Union, many car stickers like that with the names of your family. So this is very common practice. But this is not the point. Not only this is personal data exposed or the flight number in this picture. In these photos, the car model itself may identify you. The type of passport may identify you. They are all personal information. I'm not saying you need to panic and stop publishing anything. Don't worry. I just want to give you some criteria how to take care, how to be careful. And I will give these criteria later. For now, you must consider that there are a lot of small pieces of personal information you probably don't care about, but bad people can put all that data together and create an encyclopedia about you. Your photo, the photo of your family members, your workplace address, the brand and model of your car, the age of your children, so many pieces of information. And each piece of information is not very meaningful if it's taken alone, but like in a puzzle, tile by tile, the big, sharp, and clear picture about you and your life is revealed. And of course, the more tiles you spread on the web, and the more you are exposed to doxers. This leads to the next point. Who are doxers? Doxing practice began since the internet was born. So first, it was a niche and very technical thing. You probably well know the anonymous hacker group appearing with the Guy Fawkes mask. And originally, doxing was something like mining all pieces of information about the anonymous group and try to reveal the name of its members. So it was something almost limited to the hacker's world. I've never given a name behind the Guy Fawkes mask, but I still have a funny story about me. So I will reveal you a small secret. I've been a doxer, actually a good doxer. When I was in high school, we created the private online forum just for the classmates, where we could discuss about homework, share school notes, help each other. So it was kind of ancestor of Google Classroom. And by the way, I had to patent that idea, and probably I would have become a very rich person. But anyway, at a certain point, a new user came in this platform with nickname Scarface and started to troll everyone, take the piece. We spent a lot of time and energies to understand who he was. So to put it short, the story, I uncovered who he was by geolocating the IP address taken from the logs of the forum, and the IP was from a town not so far from the school, actually, and just one of our classmates lived in that city. So we gave the name and mystery was revealed. Okay, but actually with the advent of social media platforms, the doxing phenomenon has become bigger and within anyone's reach. So not just hackers or technical people or experts, but anyone. So nowadays, anyone with no technical knowledge can collect and publish personal information about someone without his or her permission. And it's not just about name or nickname or IP address. It's about anything you voluntarily or involuntarily make available on social media, on cloud services, on the web in general. And it's incredible the ease with which personal information can be gathered. I repeat one more time. Nowadays, doxers can be literally anyone. It could be a hacker, yes. It could be my enemy, my competitor. It could be someone who invites me, invites my life, my job, my family. In some cases, it may also be an unknown admirer. That's why anyone can be doxed. Anyone can be the target. Me, you, anyone. Celebrities are definitely more exposed, but believe me, doxing may affect anyone, regardless of the popularity, the money, the role in the society. I will give you a few examples a bit later that show you that anyone can be the target. Why doxers act? Why doxing exists actually is kind of more philosophical question, like why evil exists. The root question is why doxers act, what drives them, and what are the potential consequences on the victims. Please pay attention to this section, because depending on the reason that moves the doxers, you can also understand who she or he can be, or at least understand if it comes from domestic or non-domestic environment. In general, as you can see in this slide, the usual purpose of doxers is to take some personal advantage or to punish the victim, intimidate, or humiliate. More specifically, doxers may be driven by money. So they may collect data and sell them, usually on the dark web. Doxing can be also used as a leverage to extort money. Bad people can mine some sensitive information about you and threaten to disclose them if you don't pay. Usually, the bad people who act with these aims are unknown. I mean, they are people out of the domestic environment. Simply, they are people we don't know. Build a negative reputation about a person. For example, someone who wants to ruin your career. And in this case, the envy is always at the root. In the worst case, the doxers may also create a shitstorm. You probably have heard about it. And you will know how a bullying campaign may target a young victim starting from a shitstorm. Spread fake information. This includes also deepfake videos and photos for fun, which is a really bad joke, or for public condemnation. You know, deepfake videos and photos is very trending phenomenon, is about replace your face on an existing picture or photo with not about you. So replace your face on another people's face. And it has become at anyone's reach because they exist thanks to artificial intelligence. They exist many easy application available for everyone on the web, which you can use for free or for paying some subscription, and it makes very easy to create deepfake videos and photos. Revenge. revenge or humiliation. In most of cases, this happen in the domestic environment from a former partner or friend, and unfortunately, the victims are women. And the object of revenge usually is the intimate content. You know, there can be a significant psychological damage here. Victims may isolate themselves from their friends, from their families, communities, because of shame, which this kind of thing creates on the victim. By the way, we should be careful with terminology. The common known term is revenge porn, but this term may convince you that you made something wrong that caused the revenge to happen. But this is not true. Don't feel responsible for that. Don't blame you. Let's start to use another terminology: image-based sex abuse instead of revenge porn. Some offender who is stalking you may also collect as much information as possible about you, so dox you, and publish them online in order to multiply the stalking effects. So doxing is kind of multiplier of effects, bad effects. In some cases, the stalking goes alongside with perversions, often voyeurism. You know, they exist perverted people who take photographs down of woman's top or under her clothing without her consent, of course. The preferred places to take this picture is a crowded situation, usually public transportation, or queues, like when you are at the supermarket and there is some queue, you have some guy behind you, bad guy, who takes some photos. This criminal offense is called down-blousing or upskirting. You can Google it and you can find a lot of information. Combined with doxing is very dangerous because perverted people may not just take photos to random people, but stalk you and create a photo collection with your personal information appended. So your photos, your name, the home address, and many information, and publish everything on forums for perverted people or publish on the dark web. In some case, the doxer's goal is to engage a psychological or emotional blackmail. It's easy and powerful weapon to prevent a victim from leaving a toxic relationship. And I'm very happy that SCWO take cares a lot of this kind of events. In some situations, the reason for doxing may seem legitimate, like bringing someone to justice. For example, someone is suspected to be guilty for having committing some crime, and so he becomes the target of doxing for public stigmatization. Apparently, it looks a good practice, but you know, there are many side effects for this. First of all, doxers take place of legal justice, take place of police, for example. They just believe that someone has to be punished because they have already decided he or she is a criminal, and they ruin his reputation forever, even if the justice will come to an acquittal. One extreme case from the news reports is about the increasing number of independent groups that dog alleged pedophiles on the web and publish everything online. Again, it seems legitimate. What's wrong? But look, they just want to create a bad instinct reaction instead of bringing the suspect to the justice. And they take place of the police, they take place of authorities, which is never a good idea. Identity theft. The next motivation is identity theft, which means create a fake profile on social media in order to get some advantage. So in some cases, it's just to cheat other people as if they were you, or commit other crimes up to your imagination. Last but not least is the physical violence. Yeah, because in some cases, doxing can lead to physical violence. Doxers can visit the victim's address or figure out their schedule in order to monitor or follow them in the real life, in the street. In this case, online doxing can mix up with offline doxing, like collecting more information from the garbage and put the victim at risk of physical harm. You may believe that there is nothing that would make you a target for doxing, but you know, your data is valuable and it's hard to predict how an offender may behave. And that's why it's very important to understand how to act. Let me check the time. Okay, I will just mention you a couple of these examples because we are a bit short in time. The first real life example is this Twitch streamer. This happened really few weeks ago. You will find on news media. And Wolfabel, this girl is a very popular Twitch streamer. She has almost 300,000 followers. And a few weeks ago, she was doxxed and blackmailed. She said she's been dealing with a stalker that had been constantly threatening to leak a bunch of her private information and basically dox her unless she complied with his sexual demands. The doxer knew her address and he sent her a picture of her flat as an evidence. So Wolfabel didn't feel safe living in that flat anymore, and she almost immediately moved to some friend. So you understand how bad consequences can be on the life. Wolfabel encouraged also her fans to ignore anything that may appear on the social media and get in touch with her moderators if they see anything appearing about her. Last but not least, she talked with the police. She talked with authorities who has been investigating. Wolfabel is not the first creator who suffer from doxing. You will find tons of news media of news like this on news media. Let me jump to this case. Do you know this picture? It seems it was very popular in Singapore because this news comes from your country. It happened a few years ago when a car ran over a dog and then ran away without helping. That unpleasant event was posted on Facebook with the car model name and car number plate and date and time when the event happened. The post went viral, and after a few days, a guy doxed the personal information of the car owner and published her name, home address, ID card on Facebook. You can just imagine the shitstorm around her rising exponentially in few hours or days. But it turned out that the owner of that car was not driving that day. Another woman was driving instead. So the defamatory had to pay more than 12,000 Singapore dollar to the woman because of the defamation, plus a fine for abusive communication, plus publish a post with apologies. How to protect? Compared to the physical world, information on the internet can spread very quickly, and it's very hard to remove once posted online. I think today even stones, even walls know about this. But unfortunately, we still too often underestimate the negative effect that the online has on the offline, the so-called real life. Ladies, there is no more separation between online and offline, where online may affect offline in psychological dangers, increasing anxiety till panic attacks, stress, and insomnia, psychosomatic disorders, or drop of self-esteem, depression, social stigma, till job loss or friend loss or family members loss. It is not catastrophism, it is realism based on hundreds of bad experiences. But once more, ladies, no need to panic. We are here to increase your awareness and work on prevention. It's enough to follow few simple but crucial rules. Yep, prevention is the key word. Please become more critical consumers, become more critical creators in your digital life. And note, prevention does not mean eliminating the risk, but reduce it as much as possible by following simple rules. First, remember that nothing is temporary online. So once something is published online, it is forever. In case of embarrassing content, it will follow the victim for the rest of his or her life. It can show up in search results, it can show up in background checks, in job interviews, and more. Then, be aware of sexting risks. This is very delicate topic. As tech experts, we encourage people under 18 not to take any explicit photo or video, with no exception, because the possible bad consequences that sharing may have under the psychological and legal point of view may be severe, depending on the local law. But what about people over 18, where legal point of view is not applicable? So given that there are no more legal consequences to do sexting over 18, the risk that intimate content may be leaked and shared without your consent still exists. Okay, as an expert, I may suggest you to hide your face while shooting, or hide your identifying features, like, for example, hide some tattoos. But look, your exposed body remains an intimate part of yourself. You can't pretend it is not. So leakage and public exposure of your body may still have psychological impact on you. Okay, I may suggest you to send intimate photos and use end-to-end encrypted messaging services and send just to your trusted intimate partner. But look, partners may change. I may also suggest you to use some specific application that prevents the receiver to download your intimate photos or share them or take screenshots. There are tons of applications that provide these features. But look, there is still the possibility to take the photo of the screen with another device. So sharing intimate images can still have bad effects. So how to act? How, as a tech expert, what I can suggest you? The matter is about risk assessment. You should consider all the risks and take an informed decision whether it is convenient or not convenient to do sexting. And in any case, never, never, never be forced by your partner if you feel uncomfortable. In this slide, I will talk about prevention on social networks. If you think that the information about you on the internet can be used against you, do not post it. Think 30 seconds before you post. And also never post anything when you are in an emotional state. So when you are angry, when you hate something, you hate someone, because you may regret to have published something when it's too late. Then make your profile private. Even influencers usually have a public profile who they use for the job and the private profile who they share only with family and friends. Do not share your location. Geolocation is one of the most sensitive types of data which can compromise you. And following geotags, criminals can identify where you live, which routes you take, and when you are not at home. In general, as an expert, we suggest at least to limit the use of geotagging as much as possible. Add watermark to your profile picture, like text or logo watermark. This is very simple but very useful tip, and it would make identity theft less likely to happen. By the way, when you change your WhatsApp status, consider how many contacts in the rubrica you don't know. I have hundreds of contacts in my rubrica, but there are many people I even don't remember who they are. So the same for social media. How many followers you don't know. So keep in mind that even if you make your profile private, keep in mind that you still need some cautions, because many people, you may be unknown people, unknown to you. Protect your personal data like your money in the bank. So there are usual tips like use a strong password and different credential for different accounts. Secure your email address. Take care of your email address because it contains a ton of information about you, and it's very dangerous if someone gets access to it. Second factor authentication, enable it on all the services which provide this feature. It will make unwanted access by unwanted people less likely to happen. When you use non-personal devices, use incognito mode that prevents your credential to be saved. And in general, prefer password manager than storing login credential in the browser. And also because the other advantage of password manager is that most of them provide leak monitoring. So they monitor if your personal data go published somewhere or in the dark web. It's very good and interesting feature. Secure your home computer with password. Why I should do it? It's my home computer. But even if it's your home computer, someone out of your family members may have access. There are many situations, for example, your maid who is working at your home while you are away, or while you bring your computer to the workplace, or you travel and leave your laptop in the hotel room. There are many situations. You have your personal and home devices, but out of your control. So secure it with some password. And prevent web scraping. This is a technique used by bots that crawls the web looking for useful data, like phone numbers or email addresses. So if you have your personal blog or you own company website, avoid publishing your personal phone number or email address in plain text. That means prefer to use contact form or images with your phone number instead of plain text phone number on the web page. There are also ethics, how to behave with other people's data. So first of all, treat other people's personal data like you would treat your own. So with care. So follow the same principle with other people's. Share personal information only after gaining consent from the people involved, because photographs that you took for other people may be considered innocent by you, but may be harmful or embarrassing to others. And remember to pay extra security on data that involves kids and children under the age of majority. Sharenting. This phenomenon is called sharenting, has become more and more hot topic, and it's the practice of parents to publish any content about their children on internet. Be aware of sharenting risks. Last, always warn others about recording a conversation. So like this webinar is being recorded, but we have given the consent. So do the same when you record someone else's conversation. Very quickly, and I'm going to end my presentation, domestic abuses. First, sharing intimate photos. We have already explained about this few slides before, the so-called porn revenge or image-based sex abuse. Stalkerware. Some application may be used to collect data on your location, internet and social network activity, read your messages on both your computer or your smartphone. And such application may be installed on your device without your permission and without you noticing. You can see here one research from Kaspersky. In the last few years, more than 150,000 users were affected by stalkerware. How to prevent this? Install a security software which is capable to detect stalkerware on all your devices, and check app permissions on your smartphone, for example. Deny unnecessary permissions on application, and in general, if you don't use an application, just uninstall it. Detect IoT devices that may spy on you. For example, IoT, Internet of Things devices can be IP camera or other weird devices which may have been installed without your consent in your domestic environment. In this case, it may help you to install a security software which regularly scans your local network, detect new devices appearing in your local network, and alert you. So you can assess, yes, I know this device, or, oh my God, what's that new device? If you want to dive deeper and become an anti-doxing hero, or you just want to take more care of your privacy, you can check the following Kaspersky resources. One very nice and complete anti-doxing course, as well as the privacy checklist. You can find at this address, which will provide more and more suggestions than I give you in just half an hour. That's it from my side, and I'm ready for some Q&A session if you have any question.
Flavio, thank you. I think it was very interesting, and we actually have quite a few questions. Since we're all running over time, I think we will run over time to address most of them, but let's start with the basic one. Is there a way a person can assess their risk of being doxxed? Like, can they understand like how likely that's going to happen?
It depends on how many information you share on the web. So if you are very active on social media, of course, the risks rise up. So you have to pay more attention. But again, the most important thing is not to panic. So what I've shared to you today is not intended to make you in panic. Oh my God, I'm very exposed to doxing and I should stop all my social media activity. So please keep calm. It's the most important thing is to follow simple rules. So when you post something online, and of course you may be more exposed, but just follow the rules I told you just before, and you will reduce a lot any risks of doxing.
Great, thank you. Now another one, reporting to authorities. Actually, a couple of questions around this. So if someone has been doxxed, can we report that, like the doxer, to the police? And how do we do that? And do we need to establish a reason for doxing in order to report, or it's okay, it's enough to just like come to the police and say like I've been doxxed?
Good question. Yeah, I mentioned prevention and response. So what to do if I've been victim of doxing? Again, first, it's important not to panic and stay calm. I already told you that sometimes it's a bit hard to get removal of content published online, but there are some steps you should do, given that the local law may give you some tools, because there are many countries with different laws and different opportunities. But first step, doxing is always practice that breaks the terms of use of online communities and social media. So first suggestion is to send an immediate takedown request to the administrator or moderator of the forum or social media. So all social media provide this. Second step, if your jurisdiction has strict data privacy law, such as GDPR or CCPA, and it's easier for a service to just remove your data than risk to pay a big fine, a huge fine. I know in Singapore, you have PDPA, if I'm right, which is something similar to the GDPR and should protect you. Third step, if some information is impossible to remove from the source, because it's not possible to reach the administrator, or the administrator does not give any answer, you can still ask the search engines, Google, Bing, Yahoo, to remove the links to the websites containing your private data from the search results. And this will prevent to make the doxing viral, so to make it exponential, exposed to all the people in the world. This is the so-called right to be forgotten. So Google it, right to be forgotten, and you will get many information about it.
Okay.
Next step is, yes, involve law enforcement. So especially if you are in physical safety, in physical harm, and your safety may be at risk, reach authorities and law enforcement. Don't be alone. Talk to your friend, to some trusted person, or reach some good association like SCWO, which can help you.
This is it, yeah. Talking about, you said talked about the right to be forgotten. We have a question about whether it's even possible to remove everything from social media. Is that like a real thing? Can we do that?
You know, in the point here is how to limit the exponential sharing of content. And yes, you may send some takedown requests, but it's likely that some content may be republished online after some time by the same author, or reshared by someone else, or reshares the content which may have been downloaded by someone and then republished after some time. So in this case, I think the victim can be re-traumatized each time the content goes back online after the takedown request. In this case, it's very important to involve someone you trust, a family member, a friend, or a professional. There are many professionals who track if some content get republished or get reshared, and will monitor the web instead of you in order to track any possible new events and help to send takedown requests. But again, it's very, very hard. That's why I told you that something published online will be forever. It's very, very hard.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. I think that's it with the questions for today. Thanks a lot once again, Flavio. It was a great presentation.
You're welcome.